Hi everyone, I'm Shinjingi and welcome to the second episode of Night in the Woods in Unity series. In this episode we are going to create Sprite Shapes, which as the name implies are shapes in which we can put sprites. Before starting creating Sprite Shapes, change the resolution of the game window to 4K. You can do that by pressing the Set New Item button and put the right resolution and a name to it. Then go in the camera and set the size to 10. This will enable us to have in the camera view more elements. Put in order the hierarchy by creating empty game objects in which to put the cameras and lights. Time to download and install the packages that we need. Go on Window, Package Manager and write 2D PSD Importer. This will allow us to import our Photoshop PSD and PSB files. The second package will be the 2D Sprite Shape. Once we have finished installing the packages, go in the Assets folder and create a new one called Sprite, and inside it another one called Environment. Here we are going to place all the sprites related to the environment. You can find a link in the video description to download them. Once they've been imported, we are going to edit the borders so that they'll be ready to be tiled. Just click on one of the images and in the inspector select Sprite Editor. If the sprite is a quad, change every border size. Instead, if it is a rectangle, just the left and right border size. Once we have created the borders for all the images that needs to be tiled, go in the Assets folder and create a new one called Sprite Shape. Inside it, create another one called Sprite Shape Profile. Right-click in it and select Create Sprite Shape Profile Closed. The profile is where we choose what sprites are going to be used. We have the option to select a sprite to fill the inside of the shape and another one for the borders. The first sprite shape that we are going to create is the sidewalk. We are going to use the road sprite for the inside and the sidewalk one for the borders. The other two sprite shapes are created in the same way. The only thing different are the sprites that we use for the inside and the borders. Next we have to create a few sorting layers, which are going to be useful later on. The general structure is to have a background, middle and foreground section. For this project we'll use a few more of those layers. The default one is for the characters, while the others are for the elements in the scene. In the hierarchy, create an empty game object and name it Environment. Inside it, create 3 more and name them Background, Middle and Foreground. We are going to place in them the elements in the scene depending on their position. Inside Middle, create a new empty game object and name it Sprite Shapes. This is where all the sprite shapes in the middle section will go. Create a sprite shape and call it Sidewalk. In the inspector, select the profile of the sprite shape to be the one named Sidewalk. Click on Edit Spline to be able to change the shape in the editor by dragging the nodes. When you are satisfied, create a new sprite shape. Change the profile to be the one for the grass and repeat the steps we've done before. Remember to change the order in layer of each sprite shape to decide which one is going to be displayed on top of another. To be able to make the character walk on the sidewalk, we have to add collisions to the sprite shape. The best way to do that is to add a 2D edge collider. When apply it to a sprite shape, you can see appearing a collider tab in the sprite shape inspector. Make sure Update Collider is checked. This will automatically create a collider with the same form of the sprite shape and update it when it changes. Furthermore, you can also edit it yourself to your needs. You can test if the collider works by creating a 2D sprite and applying a 2D rigid body and a box collider 2D. After having checked that the collider works, you can delete the test sprite and go on your browser. Paste the link that you'll find in the video description and copy the script. This will allow us to attach elements of the scene to the sprite shape. Now, in the Assets folder, create a new one called Scripts, and inside it create a new C# script with the name Node-Attach. Be sure to write it in the same way as I did, or otherwise it won't work. Delete all the content of the newly created file and paste the script we copied from the browser. Save it and get back to Unity. Here we will be creating a 2D sprite shape and adding to it the node attach script. Be sure to enable it and select the sprite shape to which it will be attached. Go to the grass sprite shape and add a new node by editing the spline. Now go back to the mailbox sprite and change the index to be the one of the newly created node. The Y offset option allows to control at which height the sprite is. As you can see now, it is possible to edit the sprite shape and the mailbox attached to it will behave accordingly. Now it's time to complete the scene with all the other elements, making use of those layers we created before. If any of the steps I've been showing you in this episode wasn't clear enough, you can comment down below and I'll make sure to answer. Like, subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when the next episode comes out, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the journey.